Today, it's your birthday. Guess what? Yesterday was too, and so is tomorrow. Not sure what that means? Let us introduce you to this powerful concept in our community. We are thrilled you have joined. We are Helene and Christina, and our mission is to empower, teach, and remind women to celebrate themselves. Combined, we have over 35 years' experience as therapists in private practice. It was in the office, as well as in our personal lives, that we were hearing women struggling and not feeling seen or alive during their messy middle life stages. If you're curious about how we define this life stage, or if you're experiencing it too, go back to episode 2 in season 1.
We come to you today not as your therapist, but rather two women in this life stage with you, your friends. Our podcast promises to talk about the hard or the uncomfortable and empower you. We want to laugh along the way because we know that is part of healing, and we're going to find joy, friends. We're going to find joy, which if you've been hanging out with us, that's Christina's word for the year. So let's do it. We strive to find the meaning in the middle of the messy or the unknowing. And let's face it, all of life is unknowing.
Mm-hmm.
What sets us apart? We love leaving you gifts with each and every episode. These may come in the form of actionable tools or strategies, invitations to be exactly where you are if you want to. And once in a while, we leave you with mic drop, thought-provoking ideas.
Oh my gosh, now that we're friends, let's go ahead and make this official. We would love to help you start your Thursday mornings off right, so make sure you follow us wherever you listen and sign up for our free newsletter on yourbirthdaypodcast.com. It drops every Thursday morning, and be ready for some gifts to start living your life how you want. Then go ahead and take our free quiz on our website, and gifts will be dropped into your inbox immediately.
Friends, today's episode is a gift for all of us. If you know others who struggle with saying no, aka setting boundaries, which is a topic Christina and I love to talk about in and outside the office, remember those that you know that also struggle with it and share it immediately. Send it as soon as this ends. Because as we know, when this ends, your life might come back. The 52,000 tabs. So if you're thinking of those people, either write it down or as soon as we're done, send this to them.
Yes.
This is essentially allowing yourself to listen to an episode about saying no. The gift is that it makes it a hell yes to you. Now, if hearing that, saying no, gave you a little bit of Christina's oomph, we got you. We got you. Just picture us in a coffee shop. We're at the park walking with you. Christina's on one side, I'm on the other. And this community that you guys built, that's right, you built, is surrounding you. We're all in this together. Here's the thing. Saying no can be hard, and go back to our episode where we talk about the gift of and. It's hard and freeing. So with that said, grab that bev of choice, get comfy, turn up the volume, and let's do this. We're going to start saying no to say a hell yes.
Ooh, this episode, yes. This is an oomph hell yes. Like all in one, 100%, because we all need this one. We all need this one. It is so hard. We am bombarded every single day. Some people, it feels like every minute. You know, whether it be marketing ads or friends asking you to do things or kids asking you or coworkers asking you or a boss asking you. Like we're inundated all day because saying no is so hard, right?
Right.
We're scared.
Right. I was just going to say, it's scary and it's uncomfortable. And we're going to, I think, dive into why it's so uncomfortable. And we might be able to break some of those beliefs or allow you to decide, is it really hard for you? Or have you been taught that it's hard? Maybe by people in front of you, people behind you, social media. Like, we're going to bust through some of those barriers. Children should be seen and not heard if you're part of that generation. And we're not saying that's wrong. We're saying if you're listening to this now and the adult in you at times feels it inside your body, which Christine and I are huge about that, you get that signal that you want to say no. We are now giving you the tools, the tips, and the gifts to be able to practice saying it and honor your already knowing, even when it's hard or uncomfortable.
Completely. I think there's just so much fear with that word, fear of hurting somebody's feelings, fear of disappointing somebody, fear of not being good enough, fear of, for those of us like myself that are perfectionists, it's a fear of, not being perfect, not being liked. Or people don't say no because they want to avoid the conflict. Like they don't want the screaming, yelling, the tantrum that comes from an adult or a child, or fear of like disappointing, like, not measuring up, not being good enough. I
You
hear
know, you
that all
said
the
something
times.
really before that I hear a lot in the office, and I know you probably do too. People at times, I say muzzle, right? They muzzle their voice because they want to protect or they're afraid they'll hurt the other person. And if you're watching this on YouTube, I always do this in the office. Like you say something, they feel. So picture two hands in front of you. I just held up my right hand. That's you. You say something, your partner, your coworker, your child feels. You don't get to poke what feeling they have,
Right.
right? You're not saying, I'm going to make them sad. I'm going to make them disappointed. I'm going to make them. You don't. They feel whatever they feel. But if you're not saying no because you're avoiding what they might feel, that's what we're talking about. But I want to like kind of bust through that myth that you can make other people feel something, then we take away the power of the person in front of you having their own identity, their own feeling.
I love that because what you're gifting our audience is that saying no can actually be a gift to the person they're saying it to.
Ooh, okay, expand on that. Oh,
Well, what I love about what you just said is that, you know, when we don't say no and we're doing it because we're concerned about how the other person is feeling, we are trying to control that other person. And what we're telling that other person is they're not good enough to take care of themselves. And when we
wow.
learn the word of no, we are trusting that they can care for themselves. We are believing in them. And we're saying, no, we aren't going to do that. And it can be because it doesn't sit well with me, or I don't have the time, or I can't afford to, or whatever.
Mhm.
But you're saying you don't need me to.
And I think if you go back to one of our previous episodes about the gift of listening, let's expand a little bit further on what Christina said. Go back to what I said. You say something, you gift yourself not muzzling it. You say your no. The person in front of you feels, so they say, oof,
Hmm.
that was heavy and hard. Oof, I'm noticing I'm really shocked that you said that to me. If you're listening, you could simply just say, tell me more. Or
Right.
my intent was not to hurt you. And I believe that you are. And let's talk more.
Yeah. I think you're giving that person the permission they need to be able to do what they need to do. I mean, so like I think of, I mean, in the future, in the very near future, we're going to have our episode with my wonderful sister Julie, and she's always sprinkled into this. And
Yay!
so I think of like very early on when I was starting therapy suites and I was like learning Google Drive and all the Google stuff that like essentially was similar to Microsoft, which I was super familiar with, like Word and Excel and all that. But for some reason, I was getting super scared about the Google stuff. And then I was also very scared about Canva and like doing marketing stuff and social media marketing. And I would constantly like ask Julie to do it for me because she was so good at it and she could do it so quick and like she was so efficient. And it scared me. I didn't want to screw it up. And I knew I would screw it up in my mind. And she just started saying, no, I don't have time. I don't have time.
She honored herself.
And she honored me. She honored both of us, is the way I look at it now. At the time, I was
Mm.
like, she's going to make me do it myself. Like, I was scared.
Yeah.
And she said, my family calls me Tina. So she said, T, you got this. Like, you know this. You can you can do this. I've shown you how. You're really good at it. Go for it. So her no
Mm,
forced me to learn and do it.
right.
It's similar to when we have a child riding a bike and they like literally do not want us to let go of that seat. And they're so scared, so scared, so scared. And finally you say, no, you can do it. I believe in you.
Mm.
And you help them and then you let go of the seat and they do it and they do it successfully. So sometimes our no is a gift to others.
I love that because I'm going to go back to what you said because that really needs to resonate. Like if you're driving and you just dropped your kids off at school or you're going and you're about to like have a big leadership meeting, sometimes you saying no gives the gift to the other person in front of you asking that visibility. It
Yeah.
sends a message, like Christina just said, I trust you. And in that moment, that person may not be trusting in themselves, right? If that kid is like,
Mhm.
I don't know if I can ride without the training wheels, but that mom or dad says, I trust, I'm not holding you. I'm right here. It sends a message. I trust you and I got you. And you have yourself, just like
Yeah.
what Julie gave you. She had to get out of her way, honor what she needed to with her time or her 10,000 things on her
Right.
list. She had to honor and respect herself and send the message, you got this.
Hmm.
So I love the no. It was a gift to herself, the hell yes. And it was a gift for you to step into what you needed to do for you that maybe you wouldn't have done as early on. I
And I
love
would
that.
challenge the women in our audience, like, where are places you can say no? Like, is there things that you can say no in your family? Like, are you overdoing it for your kids and you're kind of paralyzing them and hindering them? I mean, we joke about the man child, but who creates the man child? Most
Mhm.
oftenly, the mother. Let's
Right.
get real here, women. We created that beast. And so, if you want to stop creating that man child and you want to do your son's future partner a favor, use the word no.
Right.
Use the word no because you're teaching him to believe in himself.
And we're not
And
necessarily saying you need to go home and say no to everything, but I love what Christina said. I was on a walk with a couple of my girlfriends, and one of them was really overwhelmed because she was doing exactly what Christina said. She was doing it all. No one was really asking her. She had jumped into that role, whether she learned it, society told her it, all the things.
mhm,
And she was also perfectionistic, right?
mhm,
So, but she was exhausted.
yeah,
She was looking in the mirror and she didn't know who she was.
right.
She wanted to scream no, but you know who she was screaming it to? She was saying no to herself. You don't get to exist in your own life. And
Hmm.
she took the accountability that she had taught her partner and her family that
Yeah.
she was setting the stage. So she took that hard look at herself, kind of like going back to that thing where I said about the laundry, like I was getting exhausted with the laundry episodes years ago. I created that. And I didn't want to be resentful, tired, losing my Saturday mornings. No one was asking me to, but I kept saying no to me. No, don't go for another walk. No, don't go do this. Just do this. But Christina's gifting you. If you recognize that you're doing it and having that hard conversation with yourself, the no can go outward because you're saying that hell yes to you.
And I go back to hearing your son saying to you when he was little, I don't want to be a mom when I grow up.
Yeah. Talk
Because,
about an oomph in your face.
right. And what was he teaching you in that moment? He was teaching you that you needed to learn to say no to more things,
You
you
have a
know?
good
Oh, I, well, I love your kiddos. You've got awesome kids. I mean, they're not kiddos anymore, but you've got awesome kids. Like, I love your kids.
memory.
But I think it's true. And, it is setting boundaries for you. And I think the gift for you in it is less stress, less overwhelm, and, our last episode's on confidence. It builds your confidence to say no because you realize your self worth. Another thing I will tell you is women are notorious for working for free. Okay. And by that, I mean, if you own your own business or you have a craft or a hobby, how many times do people ask you to with the expectation that they don't have to pay you or they can pay you less?
Mhm.
or they can discount it, right?
Right.
I have a friend of mine who has a cricket machine and she's like so flippin' talented with the thing.
Wow.
But constantly she's being asked by her friends to like do this or that for their kids' school. And there's like this belief that they shouldn't pay her or they should just buy like the sheets of plastic or whatever it is.
Mm-hmm.
No offense. I'm not trying to offend ladies that are talented with this stuff. I just am not. But, I just think, like, are you kidding me? And
Right.
I had her do a cup for me, a Stanley cup. And I said, hey, I'd like to know what you charge for these cups and, pay you for this cup. This is what I'm looking at. Is this feasible? And she looked at me. She goes, Christina, you don't have to pay me. And I said, okay. I said, I'm not going to hire you then. She
Right,
goes,
because you
why?
valued her time and her talent.
Right. I said, I am not okay with that. And my answer to you is no. No. If you're going to undercut your worth or
Right.
you're not going to charge me what you charge on Etsy, I'm out. I'm out, friend, because
Right.
I value you. I
Right.
value you. And, Helene and I have a good friend who did our photo shoot for our first photo shoot. Excellent friend. We still wanted to pay her what she was worth. Like
Right.
there was never a thought to discount it because we're her friends.
Right. We didn't question it. We're like, just send us the contract.
To me, that's a no that we're gifting, but it's also a no that the people that we hire to do things for us, it's a no for them and teaching them that confidence and boundary. I think that's huge.
It is huge. And okay, Haley, if you're listening, you might hear this. So we have our social media person is amazing and she's awesome.
She's awesome.
She's awesome. Talk about a badass woman. Whew. Okay,
Holy Toledo. Yeah.
we got to bring her on. So you met Julie. One day you'll meet Haley. But when we sat down, Haley, we said, if this ever becomes too much, if we become too much, you need to have the open and honest communication. You need to be able to say no to us.
Yep.
So we started our relationship having that dialogue.
Hmm.
And we check in with her, like even just the other day, because we have lots of things going and she is grooving and moving, and we've got great stuff coming up for you guys.
Yeah.
But I'm like, if this is too much, you need to let us know. So it's checking in with yourself. Am I doing too much? Am I
Yeah.
giving away my value and my worth?
Hmm.
And if that little bit or even that screaming bit is like, oof, if that Christina
Yeah.
oomph comes up, allow yourself to get in better connection and to get in touch with that confidence. And if you need any support with that, go back to a past episode because your time is worth something, whether
Yeah.
it's money or something else.
I made a conscious decision in 2025 that I wasn't doing speaking engagements for free anymore. Like
Mm-hmm.
I get called
Right.
all the time to speak about all sorts of topics, mental health related, which I absolutely love. And I know that a lot of these agencies have the means to pay, but why not hire me if I'm free?
Right.
And so I made a conscious effort towards it. And it's helped me value my time more.
Yep.
I'm able to make more money, which I need to do.
Mm-hmm.
And the speaking engagements I'm getting are really fun and higher dynamic, if that makes sense.
Absolutely. And I think the first time you start doing it, and I don't know if you had this experience, because like I had a similar experience, and a couple times I would either lowball, which I know you've talked about,
Hmm.
what I would charge, and then I would walk away saying, like, wow, like I provided a lot of value. And until I think you shared that with me, and then after Hurricane Ian, someone who trusted in me and knows my skill set asked me to put some bids into a couple of companies who wanted people to come in to talk about the impact of Hurricane Ian, how to take care of themselves. And I remember I had a couple of moments of like, oomph, like, am I really going to put this number out there? And the first time I did it, I was like, oh, like I felt like I was worth it, but would they see it? But you know what? Once I got through that, like they don't need to see it. If they don't see it in what I'm offering, and my proposal was beautiful, I wasn't the right person for them. And then the second and third time, it was like not a question. They're like, sure, no problem. When can we, but you have to get in
Right.
touch with that. Yes, like Christina said, that she made that promise and that commitment to her, that it has to align with her because she valued her time and her skill set.
It is so different. And this is one of these places where I'm going to call out sexism because I've experienced it so much when it comes to paying for my services. I mean, I have all the time had this conversation with my male colleagues because I will get asked a few times a year, and it's becoming less and less as I'm more experienced, but somebody to say, hey, would you discount your bill? And I've asked my male colleagues, licensed psychologists, some have more experience than me, some have less. And I say, how often do you get asked to discount your bill? And they're like, never,
Oh, that's interesting.
never. And I'm like,
Interesting
why
and
is it
sad.
expected that I'm supposed to take a percentage off?
Right.
But my male colleagues, some of them less experienced than me, are not, don't have that expectation. And I'm like, somewhere along the lines, women have allowed this to happen. And so again, life lesson. And I said, done. I don't discount.
Right.
I have a doctorate. I have a family that I provide for. I work my fucking ass off and I'm not discounting it. I have
Right.
an expertise and I'm not a discount.
And my time is
I'm
as
not a
valuable.
Walmart price, friends.
Right. My 3 hours is
Hmm.
the same as your 3 hours. Absolutely. So getting in touch with your worth,
And that's where
valuing
that no is
your time,
powerful.
that's that's where the no. And it
Hmm.
starts with you. And I think the greatest gift that Christina is giving you is that when you get in connection with how you feel, when you allow yourself to turn up the volume, that you
Right.
feel valued, that you bring something that only you can bring, and they're choosing to ask you,
Hmm.
you don't say no to any of that.
Right. And here's what I would say. No is an ultimate boundary, and boundaries are hard. We've always said it. Like Helena and I have never shied away from believing that boundaries are hard. We know it in our personal lives, we see it in our professional lives, we get that. But
Right.
when we can use this no, we are giving ourselves the limits we need in our lives, emotional, physical, mental limits. And we're setting boundaries to ourselves too. Like not only are we setting them to the whoever we said no to, and maybe it's even saying no to ourselves. Like, no, you can't, whatever. Maybe it's no, you don't need another dress in your closet. Or no, you don't need to go on that girl's trip. Or no, you need to put that money away in X. And that's good. It's good to do for ourselves. And that is also a gift to those around us because we're modeling that. Like we're modeling that to our friends who might be on the edge if they can afford to do the girls' trip.
Right.
Or we're modeling that to our daughters to go, yeah, you don't need 12 dresses in your closet that all look alike. You need one.
Right.
And do you need that one?
Right.
Or is it better to have that money in your bank account?
Right. It's taken the moment, and Christy and I are really big, and she's mentioned a couple times already, like the pause. Like when you take the pause and you really think about what's the value of what I might be doing. And that could be a little bit like the messy middle, right? Something is being brought to you. Beforehand, you would have thought about it. Now it's being brought to you, and you're like, do I really need to do this? Does it serve
Mhm.
me well? Stay in it for a minute. Christine and I are always telling you guys, you have to stick in the hard moment for a minute. You can't shy away from it.
Right.
It's almost like yellow, red, yellow, green. Hang out in the yellow. What are my choices, my consequences? And some of that might be a no to you, which essentially can end up being that yes. And I love that then you're kind of modeling that for other people around you. And you have self control. It's not
Mhm.
impulsive. You have agency over yourself.
Oh, I love that. I love agency over yourself. That just equals security for anxious people like us when you know that you have agency over yourself. Because what is anxiety? Trying to control what we can't control, right? We talk
Right.
about that all the time. But having the power of no is agency over yourself. I love that you said that, Helene, because that's exactly what it is. It's knowing what you are capable of, knowing what you need in your life, and saying no to what you don't.
And I think when you say it like that, what comes up for me is that it blasts through like the glass ceiling of any fear.
Hmm.
Like it's just a knowing, and it's like standing up taller and just saying no. And no is good. No is okay.
And
No
it
is what I
changes,
need.
yeah, it changes it from a fear to a sense of safety.
I love that.
You know,
Okay,
a
so
no
saying
feels
no
safe.
can change fear into safety. And you're right, at the end of the day, we all want to feel safe, whether it's safe with like financial health, safe within our body health. We all want a sense of safety. But when you say no and you bust through the fear and you practice it and gain agency and self control, you create your safety for you.
Yeah. Yeah. That's amazing. Gosh, we get started on them and then like so many gifts just pop out in our conversations. I love it. I love it. It's so much fun to me. It's hard. Like we need to honor too that it's hard. And
Yeah, we're not
again,
going to
we go
bullshit
back.
you.
Yeah, we go back that there is that fear of rejection, disappointing others, the guilt, the people pleasing tendencies. Like we all do that shit. We just do.
And if you're someone who does struggle, I'm going to little give a gift of another person who is also a licensed therapist, and she's amazing. And I've actually reached out to her. So if you're someone who struggles with people pleasing, I would strongly encourage the book Boundary Boss by Terry Cole.
Mm-hmm.
The book came out during COVID. I probably had no shit, like about 30 women read it, and they thought it was hard and necessary, and it was life changing. And
Mm-hmm.
the book is really written for a woman, I would say, but I
Mm-hmm.
had emailed her and she responded, or maybe it was her sister. Anyway, they responded, which I was like, crushing on that. And I said, I have a couple of men that I want to read this book. Do you happen to have a book for men? And she gave me some articles and things like that. But I also did have four men who read the book and they loved it. So if you're someone who
Yeah.
struggles with people pleasing, like check out Terry Cole, Boundary Boss, great books. That's another little gift from someone who we highly respect and
Oh.
value.
Yeah, Helene shared it with me, and it is one of my favorite go-tos for patients too. So it is just if you struggle with any form of boundary, even if it's beyond the word no, get that book yesterday, download it, listen to it on Audible, read it, whatever. You need it. And I think a kind of we all need it in this world. Like we all need to learn
Mhm.
boundaries because
Yeah,
we haven't been good with them. So I do think younger generations are teaching us better with it,
I agree.
but we all struggle with it. So, here's the hard thing though. I think it goes back to this societal pressure of constantly needing to be available or helpful, right? Like what's sitting next to us at all times? What do we feel like when we get a text that
Right.
anxiety to respond? I mean, just last night, Svea was at her student led teacher conference and a friend was texting her, like, why aren't you at dance? And Svea's like, "Ugh." And I'm like, Svea, dance knows you're here. You're okay. I'm like,
Right.
put the watch away. And, the watch is there for safety reasons. We're actually pretty anal parents about technology. But, and I'm not judging people who aren't, but anyway, I had to teach her that boundary. And part of the reason she does have a watch is so that we can teach her those boundaries with technology.
And I think as the years have gone by, I remember probably, I don't know, 10 years ago, I was working with a newer attorney, and the level of overwhelm that this attorney had was so huge because even when they left the office at that moment, there was still so much more because it started coming out that like you can text, you can reach out to the attorney after hours, you could do this. So there was so much demand and there was
Mm-hmm.
so much access that
Mm-hmm.
he was overwhelmed, struggling with can I provide the greatest service that I know that I can because my head's always on fire and I'm giving away my time. So that's what Christine is saying. There's so much expectations and there's so much
Yeah.
accessibility to us that it's not until we say no. And then there's someone out there who's great. Like Glennon Doyle is amazing at like limiting access to her, and she's
Mm-hmm.
proud of it. So
Yeah.
you may need to find someone who could be like an avatar who can maybe say the language that you're struggling to say and adapt some of it for you so you can choose where you want to start saying no. We're not saying you have to say no everywhere. And I'm going to take a branch out from what Christina said. She keeps saying it's hard. And we hear that all the time from people in our offices. It's hard. And I always challenge them. You didn't say impossible.
Mm, that's
You
profound.
said it
Yeah.
was hard, but 24 years of practice, no one has ever said impossible.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's true. It's absolutely true. And it isn't impossible. That's the reality. It isn't impossible. And change is hard. Like anytime you're adapting to change, it's hard, but the more you do it, the easier it gets, and you will feel healthier. You will feel better by saying no where you need to in your life. And the reality is, when we learn to say no, we decrease our stress,
Mhm.
we improve our time management. Like we are far more efficient humans when we are able to align our commitments with our values.
That was a powerful gift.
Yeah. When we align our commitments with our values. These were actually Helene's words that I'm stealing. I'm just going to say it. But yeah, when we align that, we are actually living our more authentic, true lives, which is what It's Your Birthday is all about.
Mm.
Living your best self, right?
Yeah.
And so when you're asked to do something or you're feeling overwhelmed, you need to stop and think, is what I'm doing aligning with what I believe in? What matters to me, what my morals and values are? Or am I doing all these things to align with other people's values and morals? Like, who am I doing it for?
Or they that and are they projecting what they feel like my morals and values should be?
Right. And then that goes back to, I think it's episode 4, the gift of wrapping paper, and figuring out who you want to be. Like, if you don't
Yes.
know who you want to be,
Yeah.
you aren't good at no, because you're like trying to flounder to figure out who you are. But if you A, know who you are, and B, have confidence, literally go back to the last episode,
Mhm.
then no is actually not that hard.
And if it is a little hard, I'm going to throw out a little gift. Think about those situations where they may be kind of brought to you and you might want to say no. Someone asks you to be on the PTA. Someone asks you if you can host an event. And if you're not sure in that moment how you would say no, just write them out. Write out a little one or two liners and practice saying it, even to the mirror. And I
Yeah.
know that feels really silly, but the more you say something, you're
Mm-hmm.
exposing yourself, and it will be, research shows it'll be much less discomfort when you actually do it. So script it out what you would say, keep that little nugget for yourself.
It's so interesting. This year I said no to being room parent for the first time ever.
That's a
And
big
I'm
no
not
and a big hell yes.
and I'm not a room parent for either classroom. And you know what I would say? I've actually been more involved in
Mhm.
my son's class in saying no, because I now have time to go on field trips. I now have time to go in and
Wow.
read. I now have time to do these things that before I would be so busy doing all the behind the scenes stuff that I wouldn't actually be in the classroom other than like the party day, right? So it's actually been a gift to say no. And I find myself having more time available for what matters to me. I also find myself like more engaged with my daughter's teacher, like with check ins and things like that, because I'm not worn out from this other stuff.
There's your hell yeah.
Right. So you realize when you say no, you actually may be showing up better in the way that you were showing up. And by that, I mean, when you say no to something that you think is going to get you to your goal and it's not getting you to your goal,
Mm.
the other path gets you there better because you said no and you have more time for it. So when I think about that with speaking, when I said no to free engagements, I now have more time to create really good presentations for paying ones. And I'm showing up way more how I want than when I was saying yes to all these little free ones.
Because you valued your time and your worth.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah. And I'm more motivated. Like getting paid for it, I'm far more motivated than when it's free. I mean, everybody is. Let's get real here.
Right.
And so, I'm showing up my more authentic self and I'm aligning more with my values. And one of the things I preach to mental health practitioners all the time is you are worth being paid for. Like, you've gone
Absolutely.
to school, you're an expert, you know
Mhm.
your shit, you're worth it.
Right.
And so I'm practicing where my morals and values are.
And that's in any industry.
Yeah.
Right. And there's some industries that I think society puts less value, and maybe that's growing. But if you're in one of those, you can decrease the volume of what you hear others think, get more in connection with how you think. Because again, that goes back to that beautiful gift Christina said. It's your birthday.
Yeah.
You get to decide your life how you want.
100%. And what I'm hearing you say is really that's reframing negative beliefs.
Oh yeah, that is. Usually I do the reframe. You're doing awesome at it today. Yay. I love a voice switch roll.
I know. I don't know. We're doing our thing. Yeah. So, Helene, tell us more about, reframing negative beliefs. I guess I love that phrase, but it's very much a mental health term and it's a therapist term. So maybe
Okay.
like help our audience understand what I mean by that.
So if you think of like a rainbow, right? When you hear something negative or you have a belief about yourself, the reframe is like at the other side of the rainbow, right? So, you know me, I'm the visual person. So if you say no to someone about something, the belief might come up, oomph, I'm a bad person.
Right.
Challenging that negative belief is I'm not a bad person. I'm someone who takes value in what matters to me, including me. It's
Hmm.
it's almost like lawyering to yourself. If I set boundaries with someone, maybe that makes me a bitch. That's a negative belief. Reframing is me setting boundaries, shows love for myself, and I teach others how I want to be respected.
And you're modeling for others how to love themselves
And you're modeling for others how you, yes,
if they want to.
if they want to.
Because again, we don't have that power over anybody else other than
Right.
ourselves. We're the agent of ourselves,
And you
but
might
we're
get
modeling it.
pushback. Here's the thing. I always tell people if you're going to start setting some boundaries or start practicing no, you're going to get pushback. I'm going to tell you that. You're going to have about 2 weeks and you're going to be like, Helene, Christina, they're my friends. Like, really? But here's the thing. If you keep being one thing I would say, keep being consistent to it.
Hmm.
So don't flander just because you get the pushback, because then that shows insecurity or uncertainty within yourself. So you
Yeah.
have to be consistent, especially if you're setting a boundary or saying no to your child. The other thing I would tell you is you're going to get that pushback. So you have to be consistent. The other gift I want to tell you is that you could practice with someone who's kind of healthier in your life, right? If you have a good friend or your partner or a colleague that you say, like, I'm listening to this podcast. These two women are encouraging me to like practice saying my no, where I know for about 10 years I've been wanting to do it, and I'm going to practice. And I trust you. I
Hmm.
feel comfortable with you. So there might be some times that I might say no to you or with you. Is that okay with you? So you might have that space where you might start practicing, or an area of your life that you might start practicing. You don't have to do it everywhere, but maybe just pick one or two spaces.
Yeah. I love that. So going back to Julie, I was actually one of her first safe places to say no to. And anyway, when she started saying no to me about helping me with my marketing stuff and everything, I was like, I'm kind of regretting teaching you the power of no. And she just started laughing at me and she goes, It's my best skill. And I love it. Like I could be real with
Right,
her, she could be real back to me and we could giggle about it. She
right.
also knew I would like respect it. But that's exactly what you're saying. Like I was like, oh, frick, why did I do this? And in the same token, like really wanted my sister healthy. And
Yeah,
she was doing her own work in her therapy. Like I'm not pretending to be her therapist by any means. Like let me just put
right.
that out there. However, I was one of the first places she felt safe in doing it.
Mm.
And so I think of that often and I was like, oh,
Mhm.
but on the same token, like her no was a gift to me. And so, again, you might get that pushback and you need to reframe it to realize you're giving a gift to the person across the way, even if they can't realize it. And sometimes that's our job. And especially as parents, like oftentimes we give our children gifts that they are not realizing because they are determined. I was just the other day walking and there was this little boy that must have fallen asleep in the car. And his nanny, because I know the family, his nanny was taking him out. And he was like, I'm walking. I'm walking. I'm walking it. And I look, and his little feet are bare. Now, keep in mind, this is cold here still. We've still got salt and gravel all over the roads. Like, he can't be walking with bare feet. And she's carrying his shoes, and she calmly says, "Do you want to put your shoes on?" "No, I'm walking." And so her no was for his best interest. And he had no idea. Like, he just knew at 3 years old, he was pissed,
Right.
right?
Right.
And so, like, let that be your model, whether your child is elementary, middle school, teenage years. No is okay. No is good. No is healthy. There is
Right.
so many life lessons in that no that your child cannot get now, but will remember later.
Right. And you're giving the gift that if your children have children, that your grandchildren get the benefit of that. Like
Yeah,
it's
future
generations of teaching.
generations. Or you're
Right.
teaching your coworkers, or you're teaching your
Yeah.
boss, even. Like, who knows who you're teaching, but they need it. So,
There you go,
friends,
friends. Whew. This no was a hell yes to you.
uh-huh.
Setting boundaries is something you can do, even if it's hard. Remember, we said it's not impossible. It's the greatest gift to yourself. You get decreased stress. It can help with your anxiety. It benefits your relationships and you gain back your time.
Mhm.
Remember in the beginning when we started, when we said if you thought of someone who might benefit from this, we're going to finish in a second. And we would be so honored if you share that with others or scream this on your social media. Because the thing that Christina and I know is that we want everyone to be healthier and to have
Yeah.
an It's Your Birthday life. Hang out with us on social media. We have gifts from the couch on Mondays. Did I forget
Yes.
anything, Christina?
No, you can find us. I think the only thing I would say is you can find us on Insta, you can find us on Facebook, you can find us on LinkedIn, and we are now on YouTube and Pinterest. And our Pinterest boards are so much fun. We all love Pinterest as like creative, brilliant women. So it's so much fun. But until next week, friends,
Happy
happy
birthday.
birthday.